and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We reached another episode of Paid to Cost Podcast. Today's episode, we're talking about the Deputy Chief of Comstock, Michael Dyer. Michael Dyer. It seems to be some controversy about what's going on, in these different, city commission meetings and what's happening, and it's kind of crazy that someone that was sworn to uphold the law, can be not judged by the law because they should know the law. Because one person that should know that they shouldn't drink and get behind the wheel is a deputy fire chief. So we're gonna stop patting these guys on the hand for quote unquote getting themselves in a situation was a choice. So that was a choice that Mr. Dyer made when he chose to drink and get behind the wheel and drive. And he actually almost took the life of a young innocent 11-year-old girl. And yet, they vote to not make him step down. The vote was, what was it? 4-3, in favor of him keeping his job in lieu of him facing 5 years, and he can't even drive. He can't even, operate a fire, a vehicle. So, we gotta pay attention to what's going on. I'm going to give you a brief overview. Give you a brief overview of what's in the news. Because a lot of times we don't pay attention to our current affairs. So this right here is the Deputy Michael Dyer's. This is case that that we're dealing with. In Comstock time, he hit Lashay Parker, 11-year-old girl. Her and her friends was they was out playing. And before one thing to show that he knows right from wrong. He knew, and he also knew that choice to drink and get behind the wheel of that car. So he almost took this little girl's life, and place to stop any other person from doing that again. So that's kind of like white privilege. Excuse my French, but it's white. Because if it was anyone else, they would be in jail and held responsible, especially because it's drunk driving, with an accident causing injury. And he should be held to the same standards as a normal citizen. I don't think, no matter how many years of service he had, that he should have a favor. Those many years that he had in service should makes you know that he should know that much more better. He should have that much more sense about the things and the choices that he's making. So we're gonna get into this FOIA report. As far as newspaper, I'm gonna read you the accident, the crash and the accident and the charges. That happened on 2nd. It's paid the cost podcast, breakdown charges. On June 22nd, announced to be normal, tracking and cattle. Comstock Township owned Deputy Fire Chief Michael Dyer was behind the wheel drinking. He admitted it on body cam, straight out his own mouth. Okay. And in a split second, 11-year-old Lashay Parker was laid out on the ground. Broken bones, screws in her leg. Her mother was battered and scarred. And Dyer, he blew a 1.8 and a 1.46 on breathalyzer. Michigan leader limit is 0.08. Man, he was almost double. I mean, but the boardroom battle. Now, this is what got talking. At the time of the meeting, the word Benjamin motion to deputy fire chief, but the board wasn't ready to cut ties. The vote 4-3. That's right. The majority wanted to keep him on the payroll. Even came to drive a fire truck. They said they'll let the case play out. Boy. Sandra Bloomfield, she kept it real. She said point blank, he can down the road. I'd rather him step down on his own out of respect of his years for service. But the others decided to wait. Now, here we go. The streets versus the system. Now, I want you to think about this. A public service guy, sworn to, uphold the system, the law, but he's a girl drunk driving, and he's protected by the system. It was UI, we got no special treatment or none of that. We just got consequences. He's facing 5 years if it's convicted, but question, what did it say about accountability with bad or the the accountability means you got that. Remember this. Little Lashay's, injury, through the hands of the deputy chief. Lashay Parker would never be the same, ever by the deputy chief being drunk, drunk driving. So he should be held at the same be held responsible, in the eyes of the law, just like we all should. He should get no special privilege. Anything, you should hit him a little harder because he knows better. So when you drunk, and I'm dealt with and accidents, and he knows what I'm doing. Everybody give this double standard to who it is and what it is to how they want to treat them, and we gotta have this. We gotta get away from this favoritism, because like I said, someone. Let's think of mom. Her family, her dad. The people that love her. He could have took her life. So he need to be held to the same responsibilities of the law that anyone else would. In Kalamazoo, it's time out for that. Comstock, Kalamazoo is the same area, because they all deal with the same Kalamazoo, but this double standard, because you wear the badge or you're an informant, got to stop in Kalamazoo. We got to get to into the regular treatment of what is the law if it's not being the people that's supposed to how come hell took the anything else is it is and if you can't understand the way that it is, then you're on the wrong. We're gonna tell it the way it is, and because we paid the cost, so if you don't want to hear the truth, don't click onto this channel. If you want to hear the truth, You know what I mean? So, for more of us, push that like and subscribe. For to help me get more material for you guys for my next segment. So, like I said, for more informative news, push that like and subscribe button for better content. Your boy, Hey, the Cost Podcast. Push that like, share. Yeah.